Good afternoon from the newsroom. Tributes are being paid to former US President George Bush Sr., who has died at the age of 94. He served 2 terms as Vice President to Ronald Reagan before taking over at the White House for a single term in office from 1989 to 1993.
Born in Milton, Massachusetts in 1924, George H.W. Bush's path to the White House ticked all the boxes. A World War II war hero, he went on to become a Texas oil baron and a senior diplomat, eventually landing the job of the nation's spy chief, director of the Central Intelligence Agency.
So help you God, so help me God.
His initial presidential ambitions were disappointed when Ronald Reagan beat him for the Republican Party nomination in 1980. But after 8 years as Vice President, he got the top job in 1988.
I, George Herbert Walker Bush, do solemnly swear.
It was an eventful term in office. The Cold War ended, the Berlin Wall came down, but it was the invasion of Kuwait by Saddam Hussein that was to prove the defining moment of this Bush administration.
We're not walking away until our mission is done, until the invader is out of Kuwait.
George Bush Sr. was successful, driving the Iraqi army out of Kuwait by a US-led international coalition. But back home, the economy and social issues took their toll, and he lost his bid for re-election to Bill Clinton. Just 8 years later, another Bush would be back in the White House, his son George W. George Bush Sr. remained active, working with former presidents on humanitarian projects. In 2011, he was given the Medal of Freedom by President Obama. However, he began to withdraw from public life after developing a form of Parkinson's disease. But this didn't stop him from making a tandem skydive to celebrate his 90th birthday. Mostly he spent time at home in Texas with his wife Barbara. They were married for 73 years and he reportedly held her hand before she died in April. 7 months later, it was announced overnight that George Bush Sr. passed away at his home in Houston. As Vice President, President and father of a president, he was at the very centre of American politics for 3 decades.
Protesters have clashed with riot police on the streets of Paris today as the 3rd weekend of so-called Yellow Vest demonstrations are held in the French capital. Police fired tear gas, water cannon and stun grenades at protesters who attempted to breach cordons on the Champs-Élysées. Demonstrators are angry at rising fuel prices and the high cost of living. Police say dozens of people have been arrested. Powerful aftershocks have rocked Alaska's largest city following a 7.0 magnitude earthquake. The earthquake struck around 13 kilometres north of Anchorage yesterday, causing widespread damage to roads and bridges and disrupting rush hour traffic. Mobile footage also captured the tremors being felt in homes and businesses. US President Donald Trump has declared a federal emergency, authorising aid for disaster relief. Here at home, groups representing the homeless and community action groups are staging a protest in Dublin city centre today. The National Homeless and Housing Coalition is calling for the housing crisis to be declared an emergency and an end to evictions into homelessness. Well, for more on this, our Dublin correspondent John Kilrain joins us now from Dublin city centre. John, what's expected from today's march?
Well, the National Homeless and Housing Coalition is an umbrella group representing around 50 different groups, including local community groups, some unions, and also representatives of homeless charities. They say they have people coming from all over the country today. They're going to gather behind me here at the Garden of Remembrance at 2 p.m. They'll march down O'Connell Street along the quays and they'll have a rally then in Dame Street. The organisers say the object of today's march is to keep the pressure on the government, to remind them that they're there because they want to see more urgency taken in tackling the housing crisis.
Thanks very much for that, John. Hundreds of people have attended the funeral of Stephen Marin, the 47-year-old father of 2 killed in Castleblaney on Tuesday night. He died when a car crashed into his car as he was parked outside the fast food restaurant where he worked as a delivery driver. A 34-year-old man has been charged in connection with his death. And that's all from the newsroom for the moment. Bye for now.